Hi, welcome viewers. I'm Dr. Rajpal, and in this video, we are going to continue with our analysis of the book Think and Grow Rich. Previously, I have shared with you three videos. I hope that you must have enjoyed those videos and you must have made up your mind as well that how you are going to take up and rather how you are going to make the best out of this book, as it's a very seminal text. So, in this video, the remaining portion of chapter 2 and some part of chapter 3 is being discussed. So, why you are the master of your fate? In this section, the author explains the lines: I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul, composed by famous English poet William Hanley. So, here in this section, the author shares with us the secret of mastery over economic fate. So, this word economic fate is the key word here, and having a mastery over economic fate is a great art, rather, it's a technique. And how to attain this technique, the author shares with us the secret of it. So, revealing the secret of mastery over fate, rather economic fate, Hill says that our brains become magnetized with the dominating thoughts that we hold in our minds. So, this magnetized or magnetization of thoughts with the brain is something that enables us to achieve what we desperately want. So, our magnetized minds attract us the forces, the people, and the circumstances of life that are in synchronicity with our dominating thoughts. So, brain has this functioning of getting magnetized to the thoughts which are there in our mind, and it attracts us the forces, the people, and the circumstances of life that are in synchronicity with the dominating thoughts. So, in order to simplify, I would say that our dominating thoughts become the reality. Why so? Because brain has such a functioning that it acts in synchronicity with the dominating ideas, dominating thoughts that we possess in our minds. So better we possess positive thoughts. Better we work on thoughts and we allow selectively the thoughts to enter our mind, because ultimately they are going to be connected to the brain. We must magnetize our minds with intense desire for riches, as the target is to think and grow rich. Otherwise, to if you want something else apart from riches, for example, you have your aim in life, you want something very desperately, so you need to work upon that intense desire of achieving whatever you have fixed as a goal, that should be magnetized with the mind before we accumulate riches in great abundance, or before we achieve whatever we have designed for us. We need to become money conscious. So, it is said that we need to become money conscious. So, similarly, if your target, if your aim is something different from getting rich, you can apply this secret that you should become, uh, instead of money conscious, you can say you should become aim conscious. Whatever your target conscious. So, that has a positive impact on the brain. Next, remember, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve it. So, it is the power of the mind, that whatever mind can think, can conceive, and can believe, it can achieve. It is all about your belief, whether you have the belief in yourself or not, that is to be decided. Therefore, Believe, have faith in yourself, and your mind would produce you the desired results. Desire the starting point of all achievement. First step towards riches. In the previous video, uh, I shared with you that Napoleon Hill has given 16 principles of getting rich, or maybe 13. I'm not pretty sure about it. Maybe 16 principles. So we are taking the first principle of success or getting rich. The first step towards riches. The author starts the third chapter with the description of Edwin C. Barney's desire. We have touched upon the story of Barnes. From a tramp, he became the business associate with Edison. So that story, that story communicates. The discussion has been there in the second video that was about the second chapter. Now taking further that story as a point of reference. Barney's desire was not a hope. It was not a wish. It was a pulsating desire. So we need to differentiate. Sometimes we hope or we wish, but we never make our desire a pulsating desire or uh, a desire for which we are ready to put everything at stake for getting that one turn of the wheel, as I have discussed in the previous videos as well. So this story is a wonderful illustration of the power of a definite desire. We have also uh, discussed that how we need to give some sort of definiteness to our desire. Definite desire. The previous video also, I posited a question, and what I am doing, I am just trying to trigger your mind, give some triggers to your mind that uh, how we can respond to it as an active reader. And the technique that I am following, I am just sharing, or I am uh, asking certain questions along with the story or along with the insights from Napoleon Hill. So the last video ended with the question, do you know what you want in your life exactly? So that is to make your desire a definite desire. It's not a vague desire. It's not a desire in process. Rather, it's a definite desire. So give some sort of definiteness to your desire. Barnes did not say, I will keep my eyes open for another opportunity. So he was well determined that what I have to do. He was wholeheartedly focused on single desire, and that was the desire to become the business associate with Edison. He did not say that I will keep my eyes open for another opportunity. And on the contrary, he believes I will burn all bridges behind me and stake my entire future on my ability to get what I want. So this sort of determination made his way from a tramp to a business associate. Barnes could succeed because he left himself no possible way of retreat. He has to win or perish. What is the problem with us? We, prior to starting working on a project or a plan, we think of plan B, and this is not being discussed in the book, but I have just tried to illustrate this idea, and that way I have also taken up one of our common problems. This is the problem that all of us suffer from. Therefore, I have posited certain nagging questions that I would like to share. But before that, Barnes could succeed only because he left himself no possible way of retreat. We start traveling back as we encounter certain difficulties on our path of achieving anything. The easiest thing is to exit or to retreat, to travel back. So he didn't have any way to retreat. Rather, he was all determined that I have to move ahead. And as he had no way of retreat, it was only for him whether he was to win or he was to perish. So, in that particular situation of do and die, what a man does, a man opts to doing instead of dying, as hardly any one of us would prefer dying. So, doing becomes that much necessary because it's a doing has become a point of your survival, your existence. So, up to that level, Barnes took his aim. Think and reflect. These are the questions, and these are the questions which I have specifically posited. These questions are not in the book. Question number one: is it beneficial to have plan B for the sake of plan A? Think about it. You reflect on it. Answer to yourself. Whether having plan B is inimical to plan A, almost everybody has, okay, I will do this, and in case I am not able to do this, I will do that. So that safety angle, that multiplicity of targets, is it good? Is it bad? If so, if it is bad, how bad? If it is good, how good? How much good? So these are the questions that you must ask before you start doing this statical business of plan A or plan B. Does having plan B increase the probability of achieving plan A? Does having plan B helps you to focus on the ways of achieving plan A? Your plan B is basically a big, uh, I should say, a big hindrance on your way of achieving plan A. Now you have to decide how dear is plan B to you. Do you think that having a parallel plan is an excuse for not working seriously for the main project or main plan? Don't you think so? We take a parallel plan as an excuse because plan A or target A might be difficult, might be challenging. Therefore, we think of having something parallel that is quite comfortable, or in comparison, that is easier. Does the tendency of having alternatives make an individual an escapist in a long run? There are so many people who don't only have plan B, they have A to Z plans. First, they say, I will do this. Then they say, if I'm not able to do it, I will do this. So, even there, they don't settle. They think of plan C, they think of plan D. So, they keep enhancing their plans. And the damage that is being done to them is that they become escapist. Initially, they move from one plan to another, and finally they become escapist. They start facing the realities as they are, because somewhere at the back of your mind, when you have something as an alternative, your focus on the main thing is bound to be decreased. Your commitment is bound to be decreased. Your efficiency and your efficacy is bound to be decreased. Therefore, instead of having multiplicity of projects or multiplicity of ideas at one time, you should focus on one thought, on one idea. Otherwise, you end up creating a big mash of your life and your projects. And in that particular situation, the probability of completing a project or getting what you have set an example are lesser, and therefore that hampers heavily on your confidence level. And once your confidence level uh, is decreasing, it becomes very difficult for you to move on. So when you think of plan B or plan C or alternatives, please be mindful whether you should have it, or are these ideas of having alternatives or plan B or plan C. Don't you think that these are basically the ideas which are there because of your personal inner insecurities? Don't they reflect your insecurities? There might be some other questions on this whole idea of having alternatives, but some of the questions which came to my mind when I was preparing this PPT, I just noted them down and I have shared with you. You can also interrogate this whole idea of having multiplicity of plans and how effective it is for you. And if it is not effective, then it is for the good of us that we shun away this approach of having plan alternative plans. I hope you must have enjoyed this video, and several other videos are on the way, and I would be sharing with you as we have taken up this exercise of book analysis. Thank you so much for watching this video, and like it, share it, and if you have not subscribed the channel, kindly subscribe it so that you may be benefited uh, by watching the further videos which are on the way. Thank you.